associated with
Right.
and he is associated with Lucknow Management Association over 20 years. In fact, he is a person behind the success of Lucknow Management Association. And in fact, for last 8 years under his able guidance, we were Lucknow Management Association was able to #1 in category 2. And then last year we had come to category 1, and again in that we were runner up, and hope so this time we will
Good luck.
this thing. We are hoping for the best. And Dr. Mrs. Madhurma Pradhan, she is a very active member of Lucknow Management Association, and she is a very well qualified person in the field of happiness. In fact, you can see from her face how happy he is.
I like that one.
Since I'm with you all, that's why I'm happy.
In fact, you are such a source of person of happiness that by just seeing you, we become happy.
That's adorable.
That's
the best introduction ever, Ms. Madhu.
And,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We are having Dr. Bhavna Shukla also. She had recently joined Lucknow Management Association, and she was there. Earlier, she was working in with the Ranchi University. Now, her husband and they both come down to Lucknow and settled there. So now they are the permanent member with us. And this is her, technically, this is her first session with the Lucknow Management Association. And we are hoping that we will have a series of successful sessions from her with the Lucknow Management Association, with other management associations. And about Gulneet ma'am, I think and Kunal, you have to do the favor. And I just seen that our general manager Renu Chaudhary was there. She is there with Lucknow Management last 2.5 years, and she is looking after the all the administrative side of Lucknow Management Association, and she is an excellent, you can say, result-oriented person. And we just tell Renu ma'am, this has to be done, and you just take it. It has been done. So we got a very good, well-knitted team of persons with our management association. And of course, we got a very live members also, those who are very active and taking active participations in all the seminars and webinars and workshops. Now I will ask, I will Kang ma'am to do the favor to introduce Mr. Kunal and Gulneet ma'am.
I don't mind going on my own. I'll save Harpreet the effort. So, my name is Kunal. I'm a psychiatrist. My father is a psychiatrist. My mother is a psychologist. I grew up in their hospital. So, I've basically been seeing patients since I was 5 years old. Lived and worked in England for 10 years and trained across various specialties in psychiatry. Came back about 10 years ago because this felt need for mental health is so great in India. So largely I do two things. I run an organization where we treat individuals with mental health difficulties such as anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, substance use. Parallelly, I have an interest in mental fitness. So our organization has been one of the partners with Delhi government in their happiness curriculum. And we have a version of that program that we're now rolling out to schools and colleges, where basically we kind of use mental fitness as a parallel to physical fitness. Just like in physical fitness, you can eat healthy and sort of and do fit. Similarly, in mental fitness, there's now a big body of research around positive psychology, and so yeah, that's about me in a nutshell.
That's very enriching, Kunal. Thank you so much. Gulneet, can I request you to do the same?
Well, I'd like it if you could do it for me.
I mean, I'm not carrying your resume, and I feel like I would miss.
All right. So I'll go ahead. So hello everyone. I am Gulneet Chahal. I am a functional medicine health and wellness coach. I've been practicing neuro-linguistic programming based coaching since the last 15 years. And I have been kind of really closely involved with youngsters and women in postpartum depression who have been facing issues regarding depression, anxiety disorders, and who haven't really responded to medicine. neither the positive psychology techniques. So my functional medicine background, I feel, comes into play over here, where we're looking at a lot of blood work, and then also, techniques to lower the physiological stress footprint. So that's where I come from, and we've been doing in my organization called Life Fatigue. We have been doing a number of workshops with the corporates to inclusive of psychological as well as biological testing to help the senior executives achieve peak performance. So that's my background, basically.
I would like to invite to Alok Ranjan sir from Lucknow Management Association. He is our moderator for today's webinar. And a small brief about Ranjan sir. He is he was the Chief Secretary of Uttar Pradesh of Government, and he is a very able administrator and a writer. And he had written two books on administration, and 2 books now on the happiness and well-being is under publication. And he is a thought leader, and he's a very good orator. And today we are fortunate enough that to have Ranjan sir as our moderator for this webinar. And he is kind enough, when I contacted him, he just agreed to become a part of this webinar. I'm thankful to you, sir, for this thing, and I hope that today's webinar will be an excellent webinar and informative webinar for all the members. So, because we got a very good team of panelists and a well-qualified team. So I hope for a very nice session today. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am, you were telling something?
Yes, Colonel Mishra. Can you just let me know, once again, confirm the names of the panelists, please, once more?
Yes, yes, sir. Mr. Kunal Kala, Dr.
Yes.
Kunal Kala, sir, is there.
Yes.
Then Ms. Gulneet Chahal is there.
Yes.
Then Madhurma Pradhan, ma'am, is there. And Dr. Bhavna Shukla is there.
All right. All 4 are on board? Yeah.
Yes, all 4 are there.
Excellent. So should we make a start now?
We can wait permission for 5 minutes, sir, just for the members, because as Kang ma'am has just told that IST in India is different. So we have to wait for 5-10 minutes.
You want us to wait for 5 minutes? All right, we can wait for 5 minutes if you say so. Yes. So how is this Ludhiana Management Association doing? Can I ask some of the people from Ludhiana who are with us? How is the Management Association doing out there?
Oh, very well. We've got about 650 members right now, and we have a lot of industry.
That's very good. Yeah.
Right. We have verticals in Women's Forum, Students Forum, MDP. We also do something for entrepreneurs. In fact, if I'm not wrong, I believe one of our past presidents has just joined us here, Mr. Mahesh Munjal.
Yes.
Welcome, sir. If you can hear me, I don't know. Did I lose him as I spoke about him?
I thought I would be the one speaking instead of ma'am. It's doing not only excellent, but great. And in one program, they wrote that it's a special, remarkable program. I was happy. The next program also, they wrote the same thing. And looking at the speaker, all of them are like that. So a lot of activities are going on and very well being organized. Attendance is very good and response is very good.
Well, that's very nice.
Doing great.
That's very nice. And Ludhiana, of course, is quite a center for industry also. They must be having a lot of people from industry to participate.
North of NCR, that is the biggest.
Yes. Because we, Lucknow, have a slightly different kind of an experience. I happen to be the president of LMA for about 4 years. But our challenge was, because there's not so much of industrialization in Lucknow or UP that much. So we had to depend more on government, getting more government-related programs related to the development of the state, and focus on speakers coming from the public sector and government side. We're not getting so many from the corporate from within Lucknow. But then we used to get people from outside, as many people as possible from outside who could come and contribute. And now, of course, things are changing. Industries are coming up. A lot of new members are there, especially the youth wing of LMA in particular is doing very well. A lot of young boys and girls have joined up.
Very good, sir. Very good. And why only industry? It's a management association. services and other banks and other institutions. They
Hmm.
would all be there.
Yes.
Where do you meet?
We have actually an office. There is a area called Vipul Khand in Gomti Nagar, where Lucknow Management Association is a small office and a hall also, where most of the meetings are either held there or online, as we are having this kind of a meeting, or sometimes when there is like the annual conventions and all are very often held in some proper auditoriums and conference rooms. And because a lot of attendance is there in them. The annual convention, in fact, is a very major feature of the LMA. It's normally on some very topic of great interest, and a lot of really high level speakers come in that. And after that, we prepare a report and submit it to the government. And more often than not, the government has appreciated our efforts and has responded to the kind of recommendations that we have given to them.
Sir, can I add something?
Yeah, why not?
I'm A.K. Mathur. I'm currently the Senior Vice President. And I may add that Mr. Alok Ranjan has had the longest tenure as the President of LMA. He has served for 4 years as President. Normally, we have a 2-year tenure. And after that, he has been a mentor. And LMA has witnessed a phenomenal improvement in its performance during his tenure. And of course, we have been focusing largely on public policy issues and implementations of various reform programs, so on and so forth. Under in his tenure, we have done a couple of consultancy assignments also from the government, and notable amongst that is the ease of doing business in Uttar Pradesh. And perhaps Lucknow has been the only management association, or for that matter, any organization who has taken up an evidence-based study on the ease of doing business in the state. We picked up some 8 different clusters of industry, collected data, and so on and so forth. And during his tenure as Chief Secretary, that job was assigned to Lucknow Management Association. And later on, he became the advisor to the Chief Minister with the rank of the Cabinet Secretary. So LMA had a huge advantage of his guidance and patronage during that period. So we hope, and that still continues. Let me add that though he has retired from the government, but he remains probably more active, if I may say so, as active as he was as the Chief Secretary of the state.
Thank you, Mr. Mathur.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations, and the second inning, you do your work of passionate work.
Yes. And second innings.
And as far as this happiness thing is concerned, let me add, happiness probably has been his intrinsic quality, and I have never seen him not inviting anybody or not meeting anybody without a smile. So he has always a smile on his face, and probably he's, I think, most suitable. He has now authored a book. I have not seen that book, although, but certainly
it is still under publication. It has not yet been released.
It has not come out.
It has not yet come out, yes.
But I think we are going to have some more programs with him in the coming months on happiness.
Certainly.
Various aspects of happiness.
Why not? It will be a pleasure. Yes.
So I think you can start with your.
All right. I think
remarks.
We might as well make a beginning. Some late comers would join in as and when they come in.
People will keep joining.
Okay. So now that we've exchanged notes about the 2 management associations, I can make a beginning straight away without doing any further introduction about LMA. I would only like to say at the very beginning is that I must congratulate both the associations that they are getting together and doing a joint program. I always thought that various associations should come together on topics of relevance and importance and exchange views, exchange speakers, exchange ideas, exchange thoughts. That's very important. And this, I think, is a step in the right direction. That is one. And second is, I must welcome Ludhiana Management Association speakers as well as the members who have joined in particular, Mr. Mahesh Munjal. I'm very happy that he is here with us today. And we'll learn a lot from what they have to contribute today. And the discussion, I think, will be very lively and vibrant. Having said that, I think the second part of the congratulations, I think, to both the associations is because they've chosen a topic of immense relevance, I would say, a topic of happiness and science and art of happiness, how to live a life of happiness and what is the science behind happiness, what is the art behind happiness. All this will be discussed today by people coming from different aspects of happiness. They're covering happiness from different angles. They are therapists, they are counselors, they are psychologists, and there are people like me who are possibly trying to use our own experience of life to talk about what happiness is all there. So I think it will be a very interesting discussion. And what I propose is, since we have 4 eminent speakers, is I would like to give about 10 to 12 minutes maybe per speaker. Let them speak for 10 to 12 minutes. And then we'll throw it open to the house. I'll make a short introduction to begin with, 5 to 6 minutes, then to 10 to 12 minutes for each speaker. Then we'll throw it open to the house, invite questions, because I think happiness is a subject in which everybody is interested. It is not something that is a domain of this specialist or that specialist. It's not so. Anybody who is a human being is interested in the topic of happiness, and everybody has his own take on happiness. Happiness means different things to different people, and people look at it differently. What will make me happy may not make you happy, and other way around also. So let us hear other people also on what their take on happiness is, what their issues regarding happiness are, and maybe the panel will then respond to that and we'll discuss. And at the end of it, I'll make a short summing up. So that's how I propose to take this discussion forward. For my introductory comments, I would like to say that, I got interested in happiness simply because when I looked around, I found so much of unhappiness in the world all around. I found that people more or less, most of the time, people were complaining, I'm feeling low, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling unhappy, oh, I've not got what I wanted. Somehow always having this feeling of frustration or, not having reached where they wanted to reach, so many other things. Whereas, I think the whole purpose of life is to be happy. As simple as that. We are all here only for the pursuit of happiness. And constantly in life, what we should be pursuing is happiness. But what I found was, to my utter surprise, was all through we end up pursuing the opposite of that. We are pursuing unhappiness. Why? Why am I making such a bold statement to say that we are pursuing unhappiness? I am saying that because I find that most of the time we do not live in the present. We are either carrying the baggage of the past and carrying regrets from the past and allowing that baggage to burden us in the present, or we are having fanciful thoughts about the future, which we feel that we are not reaching as yet, that it is far away somewhere in the distance. So we are caught between the past and the future, and the present is just going away without our being able to hold on to these priceless moments and getting the best out of it. So that I see is one way in which I think that we are courting unhappiness by doing that rather than looking for happiness. Moreover, as I would like to say, happiness, I say, is something which is a choice. It is not something which, either given or not given. It's a choice. The choice means it is up to an individual to decide whether he or she wants to be happy in life or wants to be unhappy. That's what my feeling is. Circumstances in life are there to be faced by everybody. And as some positive psychologists have said, that, 40% of it is genetic, 10% is circumstances, but 50% is in your hands, they say. 50% is in your hands. So it is this 50% which is important, Circumstances would come and go. As far as circumstances are concerned, the good and bad happen to everybody in this world. I don't think anybody in this world who can say that he has got only good things in life, or somebody can say I've got only bad things in life. No, there has been hope, triumph, there has been tragedy, everything in anybody's life. You look around. The whole question comes is, how do we respond to that circumstance? That's important. Our response, that determines whether we are looking for a life of happiness or otherwise. And one quotation which struck me always is like, I found it a very beautiful way of looking at life is that, if you can change the circumstances, well and good. There is no problem. Go ahead and change them. There's a problem and you have a solution to the problem. So you change them. Second is, if you cannot change the circumstances, then what's the point of being sad or unhappy about it? Accept it. That's the second part of it. But the third part is the most important. The third part is when you try to understand, discriminate between the two. How do you define and understand which circumstance is something which you can change and which circumstance is something which you have to bear and accept? That is what is crucial. That decision, if you can make, I think then that is the kind of philosophy of life which I think will take you more towards happiness than anything else. And happiness, such an important topic, but look at it from childhood. What are the students doing? What are we teaching the children? That's the pressure on them, continuous stress, examination, get highest grades. In fact, parents are arguing with each other. How much did your child get? 98%. My child got 99.5. So that is, they are getting tense about the result of the child, and the child is getting further tense. If the child gets 90% or something, he or she thinks that she has failed. She must give up her life. It's all over. There's nothing else in life. So right from childhood, we're training the child to be unhappy. That he is seeking unhappiness at every stage, getting into this unnecessary kind of competition without realizing that life is much richer and much beyond getting grades and qualifications and whatnot. Each individual has some great potential within her. She can, utilize her own talent to, deliver so much to the world, to the universe, to fulfill her own life, to live a positive and purposeful life. She can do so. But then we are not training her for that. So here I am coming to the point that we should train the people to consciously look and search for happiness in life. Because as we look at it spiritually, the spiritual masters will tell you that happiness is an innate part of your existence. Your soul is supposed to be happy. He is always happy. So happiness is inside you. It is not outside. Happiness is inside you and it is a part of your life. You are supposed to be inherently happy. And if you're not happy, then you are making wrong choices in life. If you're making wrong choices, you're choosing unhappiness over happiness. So therefore, I want to make this point is that happiness is definitely a choice and we must learn to be happy. Second point I would like to add to that is being a management person and with this being a management association. It is a skill set. Happiness is a set of skill sets. You can't just get up one morning and say, "Aaj main khush rahunga. I'll be happy." It won't happen. Something will happen and make you unhappy. Somebody will come and say a nasty comment, or somebody will try and abuse you, or somebody on the social media will not like your comment, or something or other will happen, and you will feel totally destroyed right in the morning itself. So now it's a skill set to be learned, and that skill set means any skill. If you want to be good in computers, you learn computers. If you have to be good in written communication, you learn written communication. If you want to be good in a particular subject, you study that subject. So if you want to be happy, you study happiness. You learn happiness. It's a skill set that can be acquired. That's what I'm trying to say. For instance, I'll give you an example. If we just start comparing ourselves with everybody else, you say, today I got a Honda City car, I'm feeling very happy. Suddenly I notice that my neighbor has got a Mercedes. Oh my God, I wish I had a Mercedes. This Honda City is good for nothing. And that's a relative concept. Comparison with the other person, immediate recipe for unhappiness. And that's what we keep doing in life, comparing ourselves with the other and saying why the other is better, why the grass is greener on the other side, without realizing the immense bounties of nature that God has given to us, immense things that God has given to us. We should feel gratitude for that. So a skill set is how to feel gratitude for what God has given to us. How to say that gratitude every morning to God, that thank you, God, for keeping me alive, keeping me healthy, and to giving me what you have given to me, rather than saying, oh God, look at the other fellow. He's got so much more. So no, that is kind of thing I want to talk about. Then things like kindness. If you perform acts of kindness every day, it will make you happy. If you serve others rather than serve yourself only, if you're only looking for your own self-interest in life, you're selfishly looking for your own thing at the cost of others, no matter what you achieve, you're not going to feel happy. But if you come out and serve others, do something for the others in the society, you imagine the sense of goodness, the feeling of goodness that comes inside you, and you feel so happy about it. So these are the things, something so elementary as worry. Sometimes I wonder, why is it that we do not train our youth, boys and girls, on how to conquer worry? All of them are full of worry, and worry ultimately, worry about this, worry about not doing well in exams, not doing well in debates, not doing well in sports, not getting a good partner in marriage. So many other things. So worry. At the end of the day, worry becomes so much a part of your nature that you become a chronic worrier. And then that worry leads you to anxiety. The next step is anxiety. And when you get anxiety, the next step is not far away. That is the mental health issues many of our therapists will tell you who are in the panel today. You immediately enter into the domain of the mental health area because your anxiety becomes a illness of a kind. And so much now, not even in the best of countries, Finland is supposed to be the happiest country. I was reading that there also the mental health issues are, suddenly growing in a big way, and the number of suicides has gone up, even in countries like Finland. So therefore, these are the things to be kept in mind, that how these things are happening and how human beings are moving in this direction. Then things like something very simple. Forgiveness, for instance. Easier said than done. Do you forgive a person who abuses you? Do you forgive a person who is making wrong allegations against you? Do you forgive a colleague who has brought you down in a wrong manner or brought you down in an industry or management or in your career? It's not easy. You bear resentment inside you. You harbor resentment. You say, oh, I will take revenge. I will give it back to him. And the more you think of revenge and the more you think of giving back to him or her, the more unhappy you become. It's not the other person who becomes unhappy. It is you who are becoming unhappy. Therefore, if you learn to forgive others, if you learn to get over tragedies or what people have done wrong to you, forget that. I'm not saying become a doormat. Don't get trampled by the other person. But forget it for the sake of yourself, for your own happiness. If you can do that, then you have acquired the skill set. There are many other things you can add to this. I'm just giving you a little bouquet of flowers. I'm giving it to you. If you do all this, you will be happy in life. You will be able to really experience happiness in life as you should, as is your divine nature. Now the question comes, how do I do it? Of course, it's all in the mind. And how do you control the mind? It isn't the easiest of things at all. Thousands or millions of thoughts are passing through your mind every moment, every second. Are you in control of those thoughts? You're not. From where are they coming? Where are they going? You don't know. But what you can control possibly is what you can focus on, what you can concentrate on. Out of those thoughts, what you pick up. You see, either you can see a drain or you can see a beautiful garden. It depends upon what you want to look at. You want to make your mind like some kind of a sieve, just bringing in all kinds of negative thoughts and negative emotions, or you want to make it a beautiful bouquet of flowers and talk of only the positive things. That you can do it, but it is not easy again. How will you do it? Here I have thought, and I have experienced myself, is that meditation can make a great difference. Meditation does not mean, it's something that only sadhus or swamis practice. No, meditation can be and should be practiced now by everybody. There are different techniques of meditation. But like I followed a particular technique of meditation which was propounded by Paramahansa Yoganandaji, the Kriya Yoga technique, Ashtanga Yoga thing about. So then you understand, okay, how you move from, niyam, yam, niyam, asan, pratyahar, pranayam, onto dhyan and onto sadhana, how you move these various steps and how you achieve a sense of balance, a sense of calmness, a sense of peace, and you start realizing the higher purpose of life. The moment you live life for a higher purpose and with a higher thinking, and your subconscious is at a higher level, you automatically then you are in the realm of happiness. Then you'll be looking for happiness. You can then enable yourself to be happy. You have to realize that you're potentially a divine being and you can realize the divinity inside you. And if you realize the divinity inside you, certainly, you can attain happiness. You can reach happiness. I think this is what I've spoken. I've spoken enough for an introduction. I'll stop there, and maybe when others also speak, I can come back and summing up and add a couple of sentences here and there. But now I would like to go to the first speaker. I don't know whom to pick up first. Shall I ask Dr. Bhavna Shukla to come up first? Is she there? She doesn't seem to be there, no?
Namaskar, sir.
Oh, they are there. Good evening to you. Will you like to start? Will you like to set the ball rolling, madam?
Yeah.
Say about 10 minutes. Okay. Thank you so much. Please go ahead.
सर को मैंने सुना, सर ने बहुत अच्छा कि मैं डॉक्टर भावना शुक्ला रांची यूनिवर्सिटी में एजुकेशन की विभागाध्यक्ष रही हूँ। अब रिटायरमेंट लेकर के लखनऊ आ गई हूँ। लखनऊ में रह रही हूँ।
स्वागत है लखनऊ में।
थैंक यू सर। तो अभी हम लोग हैप्पीनेस की बात कर रहे हैं, सबने बहुत कुछ बता दिया, तो और ज्यादा कुछ नहीं, बस मैं इतना बोलना चाहती हूँ कि खुशी एक बहुआयामी प्रक्रिया है। इसमें हमारे कला है कि हम कैसे अपने को अभिव्यक्त करते हैं, कि मतलब कैसे हम एक्सप्रेस कर रहे हैं, कि अपनी खुशी, अंदर से एक खुशी महसूस हो रही है, उसको एक्सप्रेस करना भी बहुत जरूरी है। तो खुशी को जो एक्सप्रेस हम कर रहे हैं वो एक कला है। और खुशी किस तरीके से हम अपने मस्तिष्क में खुशी की फीलिंग को पैदा करें, वो एक विज्ञान है। इसलिए खुशी, हैप्पीनेस एक कला और विज्ञान का एक संगम है, जिसमें दोनों लोग को हमको लेकर के चलना है। अब एक महात्मा बुद्ध के बारे में सब जानते हैं। वो गए जब खुशी की तलाश में, कि उन्होंने देखा पूरा विश्व, पूरा दुनिया में बहुत ज्यादा दुख है, तो हमको खुशी तलाशनी है। छोटी उम्र के थे, पत्नी को, बेटे को छोड़ करके वो जंगल में चले गए। अब बैठे हुए उनको कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है। एक वही जंगल से दो सितार वादक निकल रहे थे, तो वो लोग आपस में, एक बड़ा था एक छोटा था, तो उसने उसको बताया कि हम सितार को कैसे उसके तार बांधेंगे। सितार में तार होते हैं, उसी को झनझनाने से उसमें थोड़ा सा आवाज निकलता है, मीठा स्वर निकलता है। तो बड़ा वाला छोटे वाले को बता रहा है कि जो सितार का तार बांधना सिखा रहा है, कि जब इसको अगर आप ढीला छोड़ दोगे तो स्वर नहीं निकलेगा, और बहुत टाइट कर दोगे तो ये टूट जाएगा। तो यही हमको जानना है कि खुशी किस तरीके से हमको दोनों में आपस में संयम रखना है खुशी में। कि हम अगर बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ा देंगे, हमारी आकांक्षाएं हैं, हमारी आशाएं हैं जो कभी पूरी नहीं होती है। जैसे अभी सर ने कहा, हमने होंडा सिटी ले ली, दूसरे ने मर्सिडीज ले ली, तो हम दुखी हो जाएंगे, अरे हम भी ले सकते थे, थोड़ा और होता, हमको अपनी गाड़ी अच्छी नहीं लगने लगेगी। मेरे बेटे ने मान लीजिए 96% स्कोर किया अपने इंटरमीडिएट में, और मेरे पड़ोसी के बेटे ने 98% ले लिया, तो हम वो 96% में खुश नहीं है। जबकि हम लोग जब पढ़ते थे तो 96% में तो हमारे जनरेशन के 3-4 बच्चे पास हो जाते थे 33% के हिसाब से। तो हम उसको वो चीज नहीं हम देखते हैं, हम अपने पड़ोसी से तुलना करते हैं, हम अपने बच्चे का एप्टीट्यूड नहीं देखते हैं कि वो क्या पढ़ना चाहता है। लेकिन हमने अगर सोच लिया उसको डॉक्टर बनाना है, इंजीनियर बनाना है, उसके हिसाब से अपने बच्चे के, तो हम उसको प्रेशर देते हैं। और आज सबसे बड़ा कष्ट का कारण है कि हम इस एज में आके तो हम खुशी की बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हम छोटे बच्चे, जो छोटे छोटे बच्चों से आप मिलिए, स्कूल में मैं जाती थी, हमारे टीचर्स ट्रेनर्स जाते थे उनके साथ में, छोटे छोटे बच्चे दुखी दिखाई दे रहे हैं। एनुअल फंक्शन स्कूल में होता है, क्यों होता है? कि बच्चे के अंदर जो कला है वो अपनी कला आगे दिखाएं, वो बताएं कि उनके अंदर क्या है। लेकिन टीचर्स इतना ज्यादा उनको स्ट्रेस दे देते हैं एनुअल फंक्शन के दौरान में, कि बच्चा जब घर आता है तो रोज ही उसको कम से कम कोई ना कोई रोना उसको बना रहता है, कि मैंने आज अच्छे से डायलॉग डिलीवर नहीं किया, मैं अच्छे से डांस नहीं कर पाई तो मुझे डांट पड़ी। तो हम बच्चे के टैलेंट को उभार नहीं पा रहे। तो मेरा इसमें मेन ये कहना है कि हमें जो एजुकेशन, इस तरीके से स्टार्टिंग में ही एजुकेशन में एक जो कला और विज्ञान की हम बात करें, तो हमें छोटे बच्चे को ही सिखाना है कि तुम कैसे खुश रह सकते हो, तुम्हें खुश रहना है, तुम्हारे पास जो है। हमको सबसे पहले तो अपनी सकारात्मक सोच बनानी है। किसी भी चीज को अगर हम पॉजिटिव एप्टीट्यूड से हम खुश रहना हम सीख सकते हैं। जैसे मान लीजिए हम सड़क पे जा रहे हैं, हमारा एक एक्सीडेंट हो गया, हमारे हाथ पैर में चोट लगी, हम पता नहीं क्या हो गया, मुझे चोट लगी, मेरे साथ ये तकलीफ हो गई, मेरे साथ ही पता नहीं क्यों ये सब होता रहता है। एक हमारी ये सोच होगी, एक सोच होगी भगवान ने बहुत बचाया, हमारी बहुत रक्षा, मेरी जान तो बच गई, हाथ पैर तो टूटे हैं वो फिर से जुड़ जाएंगे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। तो ये सोच है, ये सोच आजकल माता पिता में भी नहीं है और टीचर्स में भी नहीं है। और इसलिए हमारे बच्चे बेचारे बचपन से, छोटे छोटे बच्चे बोलते हैं मैं डिप्रेशन, मेरे को बहुत डिप्रेशन हो रहा है, मैं बहुत डिप्रेसिंग हो गई हूँ। वो सब बड़ा सुन करके अच्छा नहीं लगता। तो हमको स्टार्टिंग से ही छोटे बच्चों को एक शिक्षा देनी है कि आपको किस तरह से खुश रहना है। और खुश रहने का सबसे बड़ा एक तो है हमारी पॉजिटिव थिंकिंग होनी चाहिए, और सेकंड है कि हमारा हेल्थ अच्छी हो। आजकल छोटे बच्चे हैं, छोटे बच्चे मेरा मतलब 15 साल से 20 साल तक के जो भी बच्चे घर से बाहर नहीं निकलना चाहते हैं, बिल्कुल वो अपने सेहत के प्रति बिल्कुल भी ध्यान नहीं आता, उनको मोबाइल मिलेगा। और जब से ये कोविड आया तब से ऑनलाइन जो क्लासेस हो गई, उससे हम लोग बच्चों को बोल नहीं सकते हैं, बच्चे अपना कंप्यूटर पे लगे हैं, इस पे लगे, बच्चों ने खेलना बिल्कुल बंद कर दिया है। जब तक बच्चे बाहर खेलने नहीं जाएंगे, उनका अगर मस्तिष्क खुलेगा नहीं, अच्छे से ऑक्सीजन हमारे अगर मस्तिष्क में नहीं आएगी, तो हम खुश कैसे रह पाएंगे। हमको खुश रहने के लिए खेलना कूदना जरूरी है, 10 लोगों से मिलना जरूरी है, सामाजिकता जरूरी है। और बच्चे हमारे किसी से मिलते जुलते नहीं है आजकल, अपने घर में रहते हैं, स्कूल चले गए और स्कूल से घर आए तो उनको होमवर्क का टेंशन है। तो इस हमें बच्चों को ही खुश रहने का सबसे पहले दिखाना। एक बार इसी में एक कहानी है, सबने सुनी होगी, पंचतंत्र की कहानी में है कि एक राजा एक बार बहुत बीमार पड़ा और बड़े बड़े वैद्य आए, डॉक्टर्स आए, सब लोगों ने उसका इलाज किया, वो ठीक नहीं हो पा रहा था। तो एक बार एक बुजुर्ग सज्जन आए, उन्होंने कहा मैं ट्राई करूं इनका इलाज करना। उन्होंने कहा ठीक है। लोगों ने कहा कि चलो जब बड़े बड़े लोग हो गए आप भी ट्राई कर लो। तो उन्होंने कहा आपको एक सुखी व्यक्ति का कुर्ता पहनना है, अगर आपको वो पहन लेंगे तो आप बिल्कुल स्वस्थ हो जाएंगे। अब तो क्या है, सारे मंत्री और जितने भी राजा के दरबारी वगैरह सब सुखी व्यक्ति की तलाश में ढूंढने चले गए, लेकिन उन्होंने पूरे राज्य में ढूंढा, उनको एक भी व्यक्ति सुखी नहीं दिखाई दिया। फिर राजा ने बोला चलो मैं खुद ढूंढूंगा सुखी व्यक्ति को, सुखी व्यक्ति कहाँ हमको मिल रहा है। जब वो खुद ढूंढने गए, उन्होंने देखा भीषण गर्मी में एक खेत में एक आदमी हल चला रहा है, बैल जोत रहा है और गाना गुनगुनाता हुआ अपना वो चलता चला जा रहा है। तो राजा उसके पास गए, राजा को उसको देख के एक बड़ी अच्छी सी फीलिंग हुई कि हाँ ये जरूर ये सुखी व्यक्ति होगा। उसके पास गए वो और बोले कि भैया तुम सुखी हो, तुम्हें कोई दुख तो नहीं है? बोले हाँ मैं बिल्कुल सुखी हूँ, मुझे कोई दुख नहीं है, मैं आराम से अपना काम करता हूँ और अनाज होता है मैं खाता पीता हूँ, मस्त रहता हूँ। ठीक है। तो राजा ने सोचा कि उससे उसका कुर्ता मांगे, तब तक राजा की उस पर निगाह गई, उसने तो केवल नीचे एक धोती पहन रखी थी, ऊपर उसने कुर्ता या कुछ पहना ही नहीं हुआ था। तब राजा ने कहा अरे इसके पास तो कपड़ा ही नहीं है तब भी ये सुखी है, हमारे पास इतना कुछ है, सब कुछ है, हमको भगवान ने सब कुछ दिया है, लेकिन तब भी हम खुश नहीं है, क्योंकि हम संतुष्ट नहीं है। हमको संतुष्ट रहना आवश्यक है, और अगर हम संतुष्टि अपने अंदर पैदा करेंगे तो हम जरूर सुखी रहेंगे। और यही हमको बड़ों को, बच्चों को, और कम से कम बड़ों को अपने बच्चों को खुश रहने की कला और विज्ञान अवश्य सिखाना चाहिए, यही मेरा कहना है। अंत में हम लोग भारतीय हैं, हम एक ही बात है, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, माँ काश्चित् दुर्भाग् भवेत्। ओम शांति। नमस्कार।
Thank you, Bhavna Shukla ji. So beautifully, you have brought out everything in a very simple manner with all your stories, and those stories have brought to light the issue of happiness and what happiness is. Our choice, basically, that's the point you have made. How we can choose to be happy with a sense of gratitude to God for what God has given to us. May I now move over to Gulneet Chahal ji? Would you like to take up this? Yeah. Thank you. You're not audible. You're muted. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That's better.
I'm so sorry. So once again, a very, very good evening to all the august speakers as well as the audience. And it's indeed a privilege for me to be participating here on this platform and talk about happiness from my perspective, frankly. So, as a kid, we have been told that, happiness is a state of mind. And that's what led me to turn to behavioral sciences, And so I, for one, look at happiness as not as a state of mind first. I look at it as a state of your biology. So, like I said, having been into this field for about 15 years now, I see again and again, as a therapist, small children in the age group of 16, 17, 18, or even younger being diagnosed with ADHD. There are, parents who are having marital discord. There's a lot of stuff happening with respect to women and their postpartum depression. And we've been employing these positive psychology techniques to help them get better. But with all the due respect to the medications and to all the positive psychology techniques being applied out there, I feel the organ of happiness at the end of the day, I think Dr. Kunal would agree, is the brain. And I always feel that, there is a scan for every other organ, but we just do not scan the brain. And if we do, it's an MRI, which is just the anatomy of the brain. But, if I've been hearing a lot about these SPECT scans where we are looking at the blood flow to the brain, and which actually shows which part of the brain is not getting enough blood flow, and which is actually diagnosing if you have ADHD or you are, prone to depression, anxiety, and all those mood and mind disorders. So, delving deep into this topic, I went into the field of functional medicine, which is now a big rage in, other countries. I think India also it is picking up. Where before when I get a client and, that kid or that woman is diagnosed with XYZ mental health, I try to put that person into a complete blood profile where you get a complete blood count. Why I'm saying about all this is because happiness, first of all, it begins in your biology. So, a happy person definitely who's an adult would be the one who has a lower heart rate, a lower blood pressure, therefore lower inflammation, therefore, lesser chances of lifestyle diseases. And definitely all these are going to impact your neurotransmitters, the 5 angels that we say are there, that are there in the brain, which are directing how you act, what decisions you take, and what is your stance on general happiness in life. So generally, I first of all like to talk about the kind of diet that we are feeding our kids. There's a Silent Spring, a book by Rachel Carlson. I don't know, everybody should read, which is talking about the kind of food we are putting into our plates, which is not just processed, but laced with pesticides, fast food, and how there is research after research, which is talking about how this is depleting our levels of those essential neurotransmitters, which are essential for our happiness. So basically, I would really want to stress on the kind of food that is on our plate. And if that is not up to the mark, we need to see what we can do, especially as far as the children are concerned. I really admire how Dr. Shukla talked about the fact that we need to train the kids as far as reprogramming their brains on happiness is concerned. That's brilliant. And also, looking at their biology, small kids are coming to us, who have depleted vitamin D levels, vitamin B12 levels. There's hardly any fatty fish going into their foods, into their daily meals, no sports happening. So I believe what is happening in your biology as a child, as an adolescent, and as an adult goes a long way in describing how you're feeling at any given point of time. So I think happiness is a state of biology first. Once you get your food, your movement, your sleep, hydration, supplementation, control of your inflammation, all the allergies, then I believe we need to move on to reprogramming your brain. And of course, positive psychology here has a huge role to play. And there's been so much of progress as far as the techniques are concerned. CBT is one major, technique which we employ to get your, brain programming right, so that you could actually, better your stance as far as your coping skills are concerned. So, so what I would primarily want to say is that let's first look at happiness as your biology. How is your body coping up with on a day-to-day basis as far as your meals are concerned, your sleep is concerned, and your lifestyle is concerned? That in a major way, according to me, is something which fuels aggression, which fuels a lot of discord, not just among parents. So once you have a stance which is unhappy, you are lonely, you're frustrated, you're angry, you will lash out on the children. And jitna marzi aap koshish karte jao us stance mein to teach the kids, okay, you have to be energetic, go out and play, do this work, have a positive bent of mind, look at the glass as half full. It is not going to work, because the children are going to learn what they are living, what they are seeing. No matter, like, if you are in a stance which is a biologically, mentally stance which is unhealthy, you can never promote mental health of your own children. And that is what the pandemic has shown us. Post-pandemic, I think today itself, what I saw was, there's a research which is talking about the fact that 1 in 3 individuals across the globe are projected to have a mental disorder sometime during their life. And more so the age group between 18 to 25, which is supposed to be the healthiest and the most energetic age group. They are reporting suicidal thoughts. They are reporting, depression, loss of energy, loss of vigor. I think diet, first of all, has a role to play. We need to check that. And this is indeed a beautiful platform where there are so many insights from so many different people, which we can all bring on the table, look at these deliberations, and see how psychiatry, positive psychology, functional medicine, health coaching, the part that I practice, how we can work in tandem with the psychologists and the psychiatrists to convey what actually is a good mental health. I think that is another part that needs to be conveyed. Just now, the gentleman was talking about, the fact that happiness is a set of skills. So, how to impart these skills? You impart these skills, 3 weeks down the line, it all fizzles out. Why? Because you're not in a stance. I might know that my thought process has to be in this particular kind of a way. But then if my neurotransmitters, if my biology is not supporting my health, my vigor, I'm fatigued. No matter how much I try, I am going to fizzle out. So I think, it's the need of the hour for all these branches, psychiatrists, psychologists, health coaches, functional medicine workers, to get in tandem, work towards looking at what mental health is all about, how we can, look at every individual as a specific from a specific individual point of view, and create strategies, do a lot of blood work monitoring, and then look at monitoring of the goals that have been set, and see how these are met once we work with the biology and the psychology of the person side by side. I think we have a lot in store to be hopeful for. And I really look forward to some more interesting deliberations with all the esteemed speakers out here, and of course the audience as well. That's all from my side right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Gulneet Chahal. Thank you very well. You put it so very well. From the point of view of the therapist, you explained the whole concept of happiness and how, how the mental well-being is so much impacted by the physical well-being. You brought it out so very well. We'll, I think, discuss more on that a little later, but let's hear the other speakers also. I am keeping Madhurma Pradhan for the last because वो घर की वो है ना बिल्कुल लखनऊ की हैं और यहीं की प्रोफेसर साइकोलॉजी रही है तो उनको हम आखिर में मौका देंगे. I would request Dr. Kunal Kala, founder and CEO of MindPlus, to give his views on the subject, please.
Thank you. I suppose before I start, it's useful to reflect on how happiness or mental wellness is sort of one of those things that everybody wants desperately. It's one of those things that everybody needs and everybody recognizes, but yet it remains so elusive, despite all the science, despite all the guidance, despite all the awareness, and I think that says something about the times we live in. I'm going to try and kind of keep my my kind of talk abbreviated to about 5 odd points, just so that there's some kind of takeaway that all of you can take. The first thing that I'm going to say is that there are 2 types of happiness. So when you talk to youngsters today, they get confused about, but playing video games makes me happy, or eating ice cream makes me happy. So when we talk about happiness, and I'll be coming at it largely from the science of happiness. So I'm not a great art of happiness person. In fact, I think I'm a terrible art of happiness person. So I'm going to be coming at this largely from the science of happiness. So psychologists have done lots of research, and it turns out that the first type of happiness is the typical well-being type of happiness. When you work hard for an outcome and then you get that outcome and then you feel kind of content and happy, that sort of happiness. So this is your this is called type 1 happiness. Type 2 happiness is the one that you get from drinking a glass of wine or eating an ice cream or doing something that is pleasurable in the here and now instantly. But over time, actually, not only does it lose that importance, it actually becomes counterproductive. After a while, you eat too much ice cream, you just put on weight, and then you're even more unhappy than you were when you started out. That's the first point. The second point I'm going to talk about is, why are we so unhappy? There is something about our brains. And actually, if you look at evolution, see, our bodies and brains are made from evolution. And evolution doesn't happen over 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. It happens over millions of years. And over the last millions of years, we have evolved for survival. So what that means is our brains have evolved to survive in the Wild West. We were cavemen, we were being attacked by lions and tigers, and that's what has led our brain to be slightly unique. And the way that it is unique is in 2 very different ways. So the first one is that we have an overdeveloped fight or flight response. So does everybody know what a fight or flight response is? There's a stressful event, and then you basically either kind of fight or run away, or there's a third, which is freeze. Often you'll see people who basically just kind of freeze, and then they won't know what to do. But why does that happen? See, when we were living as cavemen, we had one of 2 options. We could either mistake a round yellow shape on the side for a lion, or we could escape it for a rock. So if you mistake a round shape for a lion and then you run away, and then later on it turns out it was a rock, that's fine. Basically, you kind of lived. But if you look at a round yellow shape and you mistake it for a rock and you don't run away, and in that 1% chance it turns out to be a lion, you actually don't survive. So evolutionary sort of evolutionary science has determined that our brain is not evolved for happiness. It is evolved for survival. The second way that this manifests in the world today is that we have what is known as a very prominent negativity bias. Yeah, and typically there's research on this that shows that on average, we need about 5 positive things to undo the effect of one negative thing. And as an example, all of you think of days where you're having a great day, everything is going well, and there's one thing that doesn't go well. What's the thing that you're thinking about at night? Yeah, it's not those 7 things that happened. It's basically that one thing that happened that was negative. So again, this is not kind of entirely hopeless, even though our brain is largely hardwired. It is possible to change it, and I'm going to speak a little bit more about that. Which brings me on to my third point, which is basically about neuroplasticity. And this is the kind of basis of changing your brain. So when I went to medical school about 25 odd years ago, the first thing that I was taught about the brain is that, we grow new cells up until the age of 18. And after that, it's all downhill. Okay, basically, you continue to lose brain cells every year, and you can't really ever grow new cells again. Fortunately, we know that this is not true. Yeah, so new research has shown that you can actually learn new skills later in life. You can learn new languages, and just like you can learn new skills and languages. And how do you do that? How does the brain kind of learn anything new? And if any of you have done anything recently, you'll basically realize that after about 2 or 3 months of deliberate daily practice, it becomes easier. Yeah, so the way that happens is that the brain forms new cells, it makes new connections. And one of the ways that you can do that is by down-tuning this overdeveloped stress response that we have. In this overdeveloped fight or flight response that we have, you can actually reduce the kind of tonality of it. Which brings me on to my fourth point. How do we define happiness? How do psychologists define happiness? Now, one of the things about psychologists is that they really like their own theories. Yeah, they will not borrow from other people's theories. So broadly, in today's literature, there are 3 different fields of happiness. Or positive psychology. The first one of them is somebody by the name of John Kabat-Zinn, and this is around mindfulness. Yeah, and lots of you have already spoken about meditation. I don't know if any of you have had the experience of Vipassana or actually formal kind of guidance in meditation, but Gautam Buddha, 2,500 years ago, basically realized that, look, all of you are perpetually unhappy, and he made this 40-day program, which has over the last kind of hundreds of years, thousands of years, been down-tuned into a 10-day course where you can go. You're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to interact with anybody. You can't read any books. There's no tablets, no phones, no gadgets. And the idea is that, and they give you instruction on meditation, and they give you instruction on how to be at the present moment. And how does awareness kind of relate to happiness? See, attention and awareness is essentially all that we have in our life. If you look at your day, it is about what you are attending to. The things that you don't focus on, they don't really matter. So awareness is everything. What meditation does, or what mindfulness does, is 2 things. So one of them, I think, has already been alluded to, which is that in life, we often notice that we spend a lot of our time ruminating about the past and planning about the future. Yeah. Now, the past is something that we can't really change because it's kind of gone. And the only way to have a better future is by doing something different in the present moment. So being present, being aware is actually incredibly important. It is sort of one of the tenets of being happy. But when you do meditation, so when you, let's say, focus on your breath, what that's doing is building awareness as a muscle. Yeah, it turns out that mental fitness is actually not that different from physical fitness. Just like you can go to the gym, and if you're going to do this again and again, you'll build biceps, won't you? Yeah, so the same way, when you focus on your breath, you're building your awareness as a muscle. Now, when you have awareness, it does 2 things. The first of them is self-awareness. So what that means is you understand yourself better. You understand your moods better. So you're able to kind of relate to that. Look, when I meet that person, I feel a little bit irritated afterwards. Yeah. And that awareness wouldn't really be there if you don't have general sort of mental fitness techniques involved. The second awareness is about other people, and this is sort of empathy. So self-awareness is one block, empathy is the other block. Built on top of self-awareness is self-management. When you're aware of your emotions, you're actually able to act on them, you're able to do something. And similarly, built on empathy is relationship skills. And broadly, these 4 boxes, this is a 2x2 table, is emotional intelligence. So some of you already know this. And so emotional intelligence is the second sort of science of happiness thing, which is by another psychologist called Daniel Goleman. And the third one is something called resilience, which is essentially the ability to bounce back from adversity or stress. And like has already been said, all of us are going to have sort of stress, adversity, difficult challenges in life, how readily are we able to bounce back from them is a concept known as kind of resilience. So those are my kind of broad 4 points. I suppose on closing, what I would like to say is that, all of you are kind of leaders in various capacities of institutions, of businesses. For me, I think I see this largely as a leadership deficit. As an individual who is running a company or running a school or running a college, see, in education, where our promise is that we're preparing children for the future. Now, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Yeah, nobody saw artificial intelligence coming the way that it did. So I believe that a large part of education is actually just kind of pretense. We're just doing things that we've been doing for many decades just because we've been used to it. And it's really hard to change. Like, who's going to go and change the entire education system? So we just continue doing them, pretending that we're actually preparing children for the future, when actually we're doing a real disservice to them. Companies, organizations, essentially every leader wants that their company does better, that their organization is more productive, they're more profitable, they're more effective. And how do you do that if you do not deliberately work towards building mental fitness in each of your employees? Yeah, so the good news is, and by and large, I think this is a kind of good news talk. This is a good news takeaway talk, which is that all of this is learnable. It is a skill. It is not something that you can't access. In fact, anybody can access it. All you need is put in deliberate practice, just the same way that we have all internalized physical fitness today. But 20, 30 years ago, physical fitness was not kind of this well internalized. Everybody had, on the face of it, accepted कि हाँ अच्छे से खाना खाएंगे, exercise करेंगे तो will be physically fit. But today you see people acting on it. Today, I see mental fitness as being what we were doing with physical fitness 30 years ago. We were talking about it. Everybody has heard of mindfulness. Everybody has heard of happiness. Everybody wants to be happy. Many of you are here today. But I don't know how many of you are deliberately taking out, I don't know, an hour a day, attending therapy. But, by and large, I think meditation, therapy, some reflection, journaling, gratitude, all of these are called kind of kernels of happiness, right? These are sort of well-developed evidence-based techniques, but they need to be practiced. And as a concept, I believe happiness can very well be prioritized in our lives. If you spend an hour a day trying to be physically fit and an hour a day trying to be mentally fit, I'm pretty confident that the remaining 22 hours of your day are going to be much more productive than they would be otherwise. But for some reason, it's hard to do that. And I think it's a slightly more nebulous concept as opposed to kind of physical fitness. So yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Happy to come back and answer some questions later.
Yeah, thank you. Very comprehensively put, Dr. Kunal Kala. Very conceptually analyze the scientific basis of happiness and the whole evolution theory. You brought it out so very well. The last speaker of the day is Dr. Madhurima Pradhan, the head of Department of Psychology. She was in Lucknow University, and now she is running the Happiness Lab, which is quite a unique thing what she's done out there, setting up a happiness and well-being lab in Lucknow University, which I think is something worth seeing. Anybody who comes to Lucknow must go and visit that. She's done a wonderful job out there. So may I call Dr. Madhurima Pradhan to make her submission now? Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. And first of all, very good evening, all of you, and giving me this opportunity to interact with you all. And as Mr. Alok Ranjan said that we have established a Happy Thinking Laboratory. My journey of psychology study is of around 40 or 45 years. And during my journey, I just gone through many Western theories, Western paradigms. And what I felt after doing my PhD, I felt that there is something missing in the paradigm, the psychology, which we have been studying and teaching. We studied psychoanalytic paradigm, behavioristic and humanistic. And I thought there is something missing, which is from our own Indian psychology. So this fascinated me to establish this laboratory. I'll tell something more about it. First, I would like to say that the relevance of the topic of today has been very well elaborated by Mr. Alok Ranjan sir, that this title is very much relevant. And this is of more relevance because we see that India scores very low on a World Happiness Index. In 2024, the World Happiness Record says that India scores 126th position out of 143 countries. And there is a slight dip in this status. And we are far behind, despite our GDP is rising, but we are very low on happiness index. And looking to the importance of happiness in 1972, the fourth king of Bhutan, Jigme Wangchuk, emphasized that we have to assess the quality of a country, not in terms of GDP, but in terms of gross national happiness. And the parameters which were emphasized, the pillars of these happiness index is the good governance. There should be sustainable socio-emotional development, environmental conservation, and first and foremost is the preservation of one's and promotion of one's own culture. And the problem with Indian psychology, I must say, it has been that psychology study had been a Western implant. And the people from India used to go to Western countries, study the Western paradigms, and they come back and teach those paradigms in India. But when today, these days, we feel that the Indian concepts are very much welcomed in Western countries. The yoga and spirituality, the meditation, these are the buzzword in Western countries. And they are not able to solve their own problems. They are looking at us for solving their problems. And we are following and pursuing only the Western paradigms. So psychologist has a great role to play because it is a multidisciplinary field. I am just hearing the earlier speakers who very well, Mr. Gulneet emphasized that happiness is a state of biology. Really, we learn great from biology, how our physiology responds and how we can learn to hack the happiness chemical. The psychology teachers and the counselor can teach how we can hack the happiness chemical. And I can summarize this happiness chemical in terms of a DOSE, DOSE word. D is the dopamine. It is a happiness hormone and happiness chemical. If we reward our own self, if we just complete a task or we just care for our own self, we can hack this happiness chemical, that is dopamine. We can hack the oxytocin by simply loving the people or loving the pets, holding the hands, or by giving a simple hug to other people. We can enhance serotonin by monitoring our own mood with the help of meditation, running, or simple physical exercises. So psychology is a very vast field, and it has to play a great role in enhancing the happiness level of people all around. As Mr. Alok Ranjan very well said, that despite being happiness so important, people are pursuing unhappiness. And when we look at the newspaper, we just see that there are instances of crime, rape, violence, and there are very less episodes of creativity, positivity, or the stories of hope and resilience. So there is a cycle of chain of pain and suffering, and how we can break this cycle. And Indian psychologists can contribute to the Western paradigms a lot. Although I must acknowledge that positive psychologists are the first one to draw the attention for the scientific studies on happiness. And very important studies have been quoted by Mr. Kunal Kala. He has told about the positive negative ratio studies and neuroplasticity, the Kabat-Zinn or mindful meditation. He has mentioned very important researches which has been done in positive psychology. They have very well explained what type of people are happy, how the happy mind works, how the happy mind is an action. And it has been found that the people who are happy, they have attentional biases favoring positive information. They have selective attention. They selectively perceive the information. They have categorization tendencies, priming tendencies for positive information. They consciously seek positivity in their own lives. So these are the very important researches which have been mentioned by positive psychologists. They have also mentioned many researches. There are a lot of researches done by Diner, Limbomsky, Haddad, Kabat-Zinn, which emphasize that what are the factors which affect our happiness. But despite all the researches by positive psychologists, we find that there is something missing, which can be supplemented by our Indian psychology. We are very well in a position to answer the question, who am I? What relationship I have with the cosmos, and how we can relate with the cosmic energy, how we can have that positive energy within our own self and rewire our brain. Because whatever we are today is the result of our past habits. And we have the capacity to rewire our brain, to have the positive chemicals. So these answers we get from Indian psychology. We always talk about happiness, but we never give importance to sufferings. They are also very important for our life, because when we suffer and when we get something good in our life, we cherish those moments. But if all the time we are happy, 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 then we will not value. And it is a tendency of the brain that we adjust to positive situation very quickly, but we don't adjust to negative. जब कुछ अच्छा होता है तब हम कभी ये नहीं पूछते ऊपर वाले से कि मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों हुआ, लेकिन जब खराब होता है, बुरा होता है, तो we always blame, मेरे साथ क्यों, मैं ही क्यों. So we have to train our mind to accept not only the positive, not only the happiness moments, but the sufferings. They also have a meaning in our life. The story which was told by Madam Bhavna Shukla, it was really very interesting, that there is no one in the world which is free of suffering. सबके साथ problem आनी ही है. So with the help of stories which have been told in Upanishad, Veda, we can teach us very intricate notions which are engraved in Indian psychology. Indian psychology is very much holistic. It talks about the Panchkosha model, and which is a very comprehensive model of happiness and good mental health. I just remember a story from Taittiriya Upanishad. इसमें एक स्टोरी है कि भृगु जो थे, वो जब अपने टीचर से शिक्षा लेके आए अपने फादर के पास, जिनका नाम वरुण था, उन्होंने कहा कि मैं पूरी शिक्षा लेके आ गया. तो उनके फादर ने पूछा, अच्छा ये बताओ कि लाइफ में सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट क्या चीज है. तो उन्होंने कहा ये तो मुझे पढ़ाया ही नहीं गया, ये तो मुझे आता ही नहीं. तो उन्होंने कहा कि अब मैं क्या करूं. तो उन्होंने कहा अब आप थोड़े दिन जाके तपस्या करो, सोचो. तो उन्होंने कुछ दिन तपस्या की, और उसके बाद बहुत दिन तक उन्होंने कुछ खाया पिया नहीं. देन ही केम बैक, और उन्होंने अपने फादर से कहा कि मुझे पता चल गया कि लाइफ में सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है अन्न, क्योंकि बिना भोजन के, बिना खाने के कुछ नहीं होता. जब तक पेट नहीं भरा होगा हम तपस्या भी नहीं कर पाएंगे. तो फादर वाज हैप्पी कि चलो तुमने एक लेयर ऑफ द एग्जिस्टेंस एक्सप्लोर किया, दैट इज अन्नमय कोश. उन्होंने कहा लेकिन अभी तुम थोड़े दिन और जाके तपस्या करो. फिर वो थोड़े दिन उन्होंने और तपस्या की. उसके बाद वो भूख के मारे उनकी सांस भी आनी बंद हो गई. फिर वो वापस आए. उन्होंने कहा मुझे पता चल गया कि लाइफ में क्या इंपॉर्टेंट है, दैट इज प्राण. क्योंकि भोजन होगा, हर चीज भोजन है. माना कि हम मरेंगे तो भी मिट्टी में मिलेंगे, या कोई भी जो पृथ्वी पे हम चीजों को देखते हैं कि बड़ी चींटी छोटी चींटी को खाती है, बड़ा जानवर छोटे जानवर को खाता है, सब कुछ मिट्टी है, क्योंकि हम सब मिट्टी से आए हैं. लेकिन अगर हमारा अस्तित्व भी है और सांस ही नहीं आ रही है, तो अस्तित्व भी नहीं रहेगा. तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है प्राण, या हमारी सांस. उन्होंने कहा कि तुम एक और इम्पोर्टेंट लेयर की तरफ आगे बढ़ रहे हो, दैट इज योर प्राणमय कोश. लेकिन अभी तुम्हें और ज्यादा तपस्या करने की जरूरत है. फिर वो गए दोबारा. उसके बाद उन्होंने बहुत दिन के बाद फिर जब लौटे, तो उन्होंने कहा कि पिताजी मुझे पता चल गया कि सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज जो है, सबसे प्रमुख चीज जो है, वो है हमारा मन. क्योंकि मन में इतने सारे विचार आते हैं कि मैं तपस्या भी नहीं कर पा रहा. मेरा ध्यान बराबर डाइवर्ट हो रहा है, हजारों मेरे दिमाग में थॉट्स आ रहे हैं, और उन थॉट्स की वजह से मैं ठीक से सांस भी नहीं ले पा रहा, क्योंकि मैं इतना घबरा रहा हूँ. तो सबसे ज्यादा चीज इंपॉर्टेंट है मन. तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये भी तुमने बहुत अच्छा किया, और तुम एक और लेयर तक आगे पहुंचे, दैट इज योर मनोमय कोश. लेकिन अभी तुम थोड़े दिन और जाके तपस्या करो, थोड़ा और ज्ञान प्राप्त करो, फिर मेरे पास आना. उसके बाद फिर वो जब नेक्स्ट टाइम आए,
तो उन्होंने कहा कि मुझे पता चला कि सबसे महत्वपूर्ण चीज जो है लाइफ में है बुद्धि, क्योंकि इंटेलिजेंस होती है तभी हम डिस्क्रिमिनेट कर पाते हैं कि कौन सा थॉट पॉजिटिव है और कौन सा थॉट नेगेटिव है। तो बुद्धि सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है। तो उन्होंने कहा कि तुम बहुत करीब पहुंच ही गए हो, बस कुछ दिन तुम और ध्यान लगाओ, तपस्या करो, उसके बाद तुम आना। फिर जब वो आए तो उन्होंने कहा मुझे पता चल गया सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है जीवन में सत्यचित आनंद, क्योंकि जब हम सब इन सब चीजों को पार करते हैं तो एक ऐसी स्टेज पर पहुंचते हैं जहां पर जो लाइफ के अप हेवल्स है, अप डाउन्स है, उसका इम्पैक्ट हम पे नहीं पड़ता। और उसका एक तरीका है मेडिटेशन, इनवर्ड फोकस। तो जो इंडियन पैराडाइम है, इट इज वेरी होलिस्टिक। इन पांचों कोशों को अगर हम संभालना सीख जाए, and life is a journey from gross, that is Annamay Kosh, to Anandamay Kosh. Happiness is not a thing that we can get just now and it can be taken away by someone. क्योंकि कोई चीज हमें खुशी देती है, थोड़े समय देती है, उसके बाद हमें लगता है बड़ी चीज चाहिए। एक व्यक्ति जो साइकिल से जा रहा है उसको लगता है स्कूटर हो जाए, स्कूटर मिल गया तो गाड़ी हो जाए, गाड़ी हो गई तो भाई गियरलेस गाड़ी हो जाए, और फिर और अच्छे से अच्छी चीज। तो हैप्पीनेस जो है वो इट्स अ जर्नी, एंड ईच वन ऑफ us has a different meaning for happiness. So it is my stake that the Indian paradigm needs to supplement the Western knowledge to become more holistic in our understanding of happiness. And happiness is of course an art also. एक कला भी है और एक विज्ञान भी है। जैसे कि एक पक्षी होता है, उसके दो पंख और एक पूंछ होती है, उसके बिना वो उड़ नहीं सकता। तो इफ वी हैव टू फ्लाई हाई, अगर हमें ज्यादा ऊंचे उड़ना है तो हमारे पास विज्ञान भी होना चाहिए, कला भी होना चाहिए, और फेथ, श्रद्धा। एक मेंटोर के लिए, एक डिवाइन फोर्स के लिए वी हैव टू हैव फेथ, because without faith we cannot follow this journey. And this is the message which is given by Indian psychologists, that happiness is nothing but establishing a good connectivity between yourself and other people, between you and your work, and between you and the divine. So if you are able to establish that connectivity, then you can become happy in your life. And if I say in a few words that what are the mantras of happiness, then I can say that it is just like जैसे कि अभी कुणाल जी ने भी कहा कि ये it's a muscle, awareness is a muscle. तो happiness भी कुछ habit creation ही है। जैसे कि 7 सुर होते हैं, सारे गामा पाधा निसा, सबके पास 7 सुर है, बट जो जितनी प्रैक्टिस करता है उसका वायलिन उतना ही बढ़िया बजता है। तो इट इज जस्ट अ हैबिट कि हम वो हैबिट कैसे डालें, खुश रहने की आदत कैसे डालें, और जो हमारा सेल्फ है उसको कैसे इनहेंस करें, इनलार्ज करें। क्योंकि जब हम सस्टेनेबल हैप्पीनेस की तरफ बढ़ते हैं तो हम अपना इंटरेस्ट छोड़ के हम दूसरे का इंटरेस्ट समझते हैं, और दूसरे की खुशी में कहीं अपनी खुशी को देखते हैं। लगातार हम अपने आप को अपडेट करते हैं, रिफ्रेश करते हैं, माइंडफुल होते हैं। हम पास्ट में या फ्यूचर में नहीं जीते, हम ये देखते हैं कि आज जो फोकस है, आज जो प्रेजेंट है, उसमें हम कैसे अपने आप को बेहतर बना सकते हैं, कैसे हम एक अपना अपडेटेड वर्जन क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। तो दिस इज माय स्टेक। एंड रिगार्डिंग माय हैप्पीनेस लेबोरेटरी, it was my thinking that when we talk about mental health and counseling, students वहां नहीं आते। तो उस लैब में हमने कुछ ऐसा एम्बियंस रखा है जिसमें कि स्टूडेंट्स कम फॉर हैप्पी थिंकिंग लेबोरेटरी। When they come, there are positive messages displayed on the wall, and there are certain instruments that we have kept in our research room, and they can tap the energy level in our body, because whatever energy we have, it is stored in our 7 chakras. So we have a BioWell instrument. It is a Kirlian photography based machine which taps your body energy. And when you meditate, when you are in a balanced state, the position of your chakras, the energy in your body changes. And we have a neurobiofeedback also. So when they meditate, they visualize their body parameters, their skin temperature, skin conductance changes. So students are very much fascinated in the name of Happy Thinking Laboratory. They come and visit, and there is a meditation room also. We take the meditation sessions. So this is the experiment that our university has done for the mental health, well-being, and happiness of students and teachers and all. So thank you very much for patient listening and giving me this opportunity to express my views with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Madhumita Pradhan. I just saw a comment on the chat box. I think that that describes your talk. It says a very enlightening talk. Very enlightening is the right word for it. And how you brought out the whole concept of holistic concept of happiness and the Indian paradigm being used for that. That's very well put. Can I now ask if anybody is interested in raising an issue or asking a question? You're welcome to do so, but please keep it short. And also, if you want to direct it towards a particular speaker, you may do so. Or I'll request any one of the speakers to respond to it. Is there anybody who wants to raise something? Yeah.
Can I start? Can you start?
Mathur Sahib is always the first of the block. Yes.
Sir, I think it was a very good, very well-informed interaction. And all the speakers, they touched on different aspects. The physical, I'll make a few comments and ask one question. The first one is that we talked of the World Happiness Report. In fact, you spoke of the World Happiness Report. LMA had a convention on happiness and public policy, I think about 4 or 5 years back. And yes, we were able to get an ex-education minister of Bhutan, who was instrumental in setting up that gross national happiness concept through the Bhutan, King of Bhutan. Surprisingly, Bhutan does not fare anywhere. It does not figure in the World Happiness Index anywhere. It's very low. So we asked him, sir, what happened? After all, you invented this World Happiness Index, but this Bhutan is not there. So we said we have a different set of parameters other than what the World Bank had set up. And one thing I would like to ask the panelists if they are aware that India, it was mentioned, was very low. But do you know that Pakistan was rated much higher than India? I mean, nobody could figure out why Pakistan was high. Now, if anybody can articulate any reason for that, so that reveals the issue of credibility on these indices and reports. How could Pakistan, even at 5 years back, it was in a bad shape, much worse. India, of course, is very low. One question to our doctor friends, very enlightening, very different. I mean, he talked of biology and medicine. Can we not synthesize the hormone, dopamine or oxytocin or those things and make it a capsule? All that, because
there is no ready-made
medicine for everything. So is it not
also dopamine is like a double-edged sword.
You are trying to take the shortcut to happiness. But
shortcut to happiness. That's right.
To answer this.
Because we have a capsule for everything, sir.
Yes, sir.
Psychiatrists give it for depression, for all kinds of.
I understand. In fact, the medicines are there the purpose of these depression medicines, antidepressant medicines is they increase the level of serotonin and all in the body. But I'll request Dr. Gurneet Chahal to respond to it.
In my capacity, yes, dopamine, I would say, is a double-edged sword. For people who already have a good level of dopamine in their blood cruising through, for them, if you give them more dopamine medications, they induce mania. And there's a condition called as bipolar disorder. So, dopamine cannot be ingested in the form of a capsule for anyone and everyone. It's for the psychiatrist to decide, if your basal dopamine levels are low, then of course, they'll put you on medication so that, you have a higher dopamine level, you have a higher satisfaction from what you do. Normally, people who are, addicted to certain substances, this is where dopamine plays a dirty role. It's like something, the moment you take a drug or cocaine or even social media, the moment you do a bit of it, your brain shouts, give me more. That's dopamine asking you for more. There's never an end to the amount of dopamine that your brain will be satisfied with. So like Madhurima ma'am
is
said,
it not used to dopamine? Is it not used to raise your blood pressure? When it goes down too much, you inject dopamine to bring it up, isn't it?
Well, I don't think that's dopamine. That's for Dr. Kunal to specify. I think that's simply not dopamine in its form as we look at it as a neurotransmitter. Yes, there is adrenaline that they pump in that I've heard about to get your, heart beating once you have gone into a cardiac arrest. So, these are like, dopamine is something which you have to be really aware of. It's like, an addiction to cocaine is similar as an addiction to social media. So it's your brain all over the place and your dopamine saying, give me more. It's like a give me more chemical. So, I think we don't need to see a day where we are saying, let's have dopamine capsules and just have mania everywhere and feel good. Because the next time today you have one dopamine capsule, tomorrow you're going to need 5 and then 10 and then it's going to be a, chaos. So I think dopamine should come from boredom. That's what I tell parents who come to me that, let your kids and let you yourself get used to boredom. When you become used to boredom, that's when your body secretes a little bit of dopamine. Like Madhurima ma'am said, simple acts में से dopamine निकालो. जब तुम long concerted efforts के बाद छोटा सा कोई reward मिलता है, that's where your brain is giving you dopamine. And that is the actual dopamine. But we are in such a stimulated environment, we want dopamine every second. You see the children, the moment the Google does not load, they become so frustrated. It's instant gratification all the way. We want stimulation all the time. Yes. So I think dopamine is dangerous in today's world.
That's very well put. Dr. Kunal, you like to add to this? Would you like to add to this?
Yeah, happy to. I think the drug that the gentleman there is referring to is a drug called dobutamine. I know it sounds very similar to dopamine, but it is not. That is a hard drug indeed. Think of dopamine as a chemical that releases in your brain when you experience pleasure. Yeah. The more you experience pleasure, the more you are in some ways indebted to experience pain. So pain and pleasure are known to be two sides of the same coin. And a simple kind of example is when you're constantly looking at your social media feed. So I'm not on social media. I haven't been for the last 20 years. But you must be. When you're looking through social media, you're getting small doses of dopamine. So every time you're doing that, you're basically paying a price, and your brain's ability to derive dopamine, to derive pleasure from normal simple habits reduces. Which is why this sort of phenomena or this practice of dopamine detox. What is the dopamine detox? For 2 days, you stop your phone, don't look at your gadgets, and basically allow your brain to kind of come back to normal. A very common practice. So on weekends, you just pack your phone away. And in fact, there are small safes. They look like a box and they have a timer. So basically, the idea is that you'll put your phone in that, put a timer for 24 hours, and then you can't get to your phone for the next 24 hours. And this is how people do dopamine detox these days.
Yeah.
That answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, thanks. And I'll, Mr. Mathur, I'll just quick response to your first question about World Happiness Report. Yes, it's true. I also agree that Pakistan being rated as a happier country than India, I also don't accept that at all. And there is some questions to be raised on the methodology that are being used by WHR. But still, I only like to point out one thing, that this World Happiness Report started from 2013. And 2013 up to 2024, consistently, India has been ranked in the last 10 countries. Therefore, it raises a question. There are some issues certainly with India about happiness. Now, I'll tell you, the method they used in this World Happiness Report is through a survey. It's a Gallup poll. They ask certain questions of people. So it all depends upon the kind of responses they get. Of course, what are the factors they consider? They consider per capita income. They consider social capital, social relationships. They consider gratitude. They consider perception about corruption. They consider about positive and negative effects. These are some of the factors they give weightage to and they do. And then the rest they leave is the rest of the factors which are unexplained in this. So I was studying about this Pakistan and India thing. In all the parameters, Pakistan is worse off as compared to India. But in the balance, which is not explained factors, they are somehow scoring high. It could be, as I say somewhere, it just could be attitude. If you ask somebody, "Aap bahut khush hain kya?" Maybe they would say, "Inshallah, bahut khush hain." और हमारे यहाँ अगर किसी से कहेंगे आप बहुत खुश है, कहेंगे अरे यार सरकार इतनी बेईमान है, वहां देखो उसने ये कर दिया, उसने ये कर दिया. हमारे यहाँ people are always screaming about something or the other. So maybe that is the reason why the kind of response we give to situations, we tend to score lower. But that is of course a question of methodology and all that. But all said and done, it's an indicator that public policy needs to focus on gross national happiness and happiness issues, and it must do that because that is more important than just talking about GDP. Okay, next, anybody else, any other question from anybody?
In fact, sir, I just ask you that is that happiness index is basically based on have and have nots. If you are
Sorry?
having something or the, as per the Maslow theory, once you reach up to that top, so you are achieved everything, so you are happy. And second thing is Angur Khatte, you just left it and you are happy. Is that so?
Anybody would like to respond? I didn't quite get the question properly, but anybody who has heard it may like to respond.
In fact, I will just repeat my question, Gulneet ma'am. What you were telling that key is that index is dependent on have and have nots. You are having everything, so you are happy, and you are not having anything, means like Angur Khatte, and you are happy.
Yeah.
So this is what is India versus Pakistan.
No,
because they don't have anything, so they are happy.
Yeah, it sometimes happens. Sometimes happens that you are not having much also, then you feel like, chalo, yahi hai, this is enough. But in a country like India, where people are developing and aspirations are growing, people are seeing that it is possible to reach that higher level. Maybe they are unhappy because they feel that they're not able to reach that higher level. It could be that way. Yeah.
I think Mr. Ghanshyam Das want to ask some question.
Ghanshyam ji, bataiye. Yeah, please.
I am from AHL Lucknow.
Yeah, please.
The man is a bundle of desires, and desires must be fulfilled. If desires are not fulfilled, the expectations are not fulfilled, then the difference between this fulfilledness and unfulfilledness increases the schizophrenia sometimes. In our HL also, workers were not satisfied because of desires. So how to control the desires first? Okay. This is my question.
मधुरमा प्रधान जी आप बताइए.
जी
हैप्पीनेस लैब आप चलाती हैं.
जी there is a difference between desire and want, right? So there are certain needs which are very much basic for us. Suppose we have to go somewhere, so we can take any route. हम साइकिल से भी जा सकते हैं, स्कूटर से भी, टेम्पो से, बट हमारा पैरामीटर हमने कहाँ सेट कर रखा है? सेट पॉइंट क्या है? जैसे आप में से एक स्पीकर ने बात किया था सोशल कंपैरिजन का, तो हम किससे कंपेयर करते हैं? हमेशा अगर वी ऑलवेज मेक अपवर्ड कंपैरिजन, हम अपने से ऊपर वालों से कंपैरिजन करते हैं, वी विल ऑलवेज रिमेन डिससैटिस्फाइड. ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है, लेकिन क्या है हमारे पास? अगर हम ये सोचते हैं तो हम कहीं ना कहीं सेटिस्फाइड होते हैं. तो बाय लर्निंग द आर्ट ऑफ बीइंग सेटिस्फाइड, by being thankful, expressing gratitude, not only to our family members, our friends, our neighbors, our community, our divine God, whatever is given to us is much more. जैसे मैम ने एक स्टोरी सुनाई थी कि वो शर्ट ढूंढने निकला, बट उसके पास तो शर्ट ही नहीं थी. कुछ ऐसे भी लोग हैं जो बिना शर्ट के भी जिंदा हैं. कोरोना में हमने देखा कि व्हाट इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट इन लाइफ, बहुत सारी चीजें थी हमारे पास, लेकिन हम उनका उपयोग नहीं कर पा रहे थे. बहुत ही लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज में वी वर जस्ट रनिंग अवर लाइफ. तो लर्निंग द आर्ट ऑफ सेटिस्फैक्शन वी कैन कंट्रोल. जो मेडिटेशन की बात होती है, बुद्ध की बात हुई, जो साम्य लाने की बात हुई, कि हम एक बैलेंस लाएं, क्योंकि हर चीज संतुलन में अच्छी लगती है.
नहीं तो एस्पिरेशंस नहीं होने चाहिए.
होने चाहिए, बट देयर शुड बी अ बैलेंस कि आप कितना अचीव करें, फिर उसको स्टेबलाइज करें, उससे खुश तो हो. उसको आपके पास इतना पैसा, बट उसको खुश होने का समय नहीं है. आपने एक बहुत मिलेनियर की स्टोरी सुनी होगी, व्हेन ही वाज ऑन द डेथ बेड, उसने कहा कि मेरे पास सब कुछ है, बट एट द डेथ बेड आई जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड दैट कुड आई स्पेंड सम मोर टाइम विद माय फैमिली एंड फ्रेंड्स. So it depends on your perception that what you want to lead, always dissatisfaction or enjoy, achieve, then enjoy, then achieve and enjoy.
Yes.
So you have to make a balance.
Yes.
Between,
Yeah.
In fact,
inner peace is more important than money. Inner peace is more important.
Inner peace is more important. That's right. And also, I would like to add that, in fact, what people think is that success leads to happiness, but perhaps it is the other way around. It is happiness which leads to success. Happier people are far more productive and they do better and are more successful. So it doesn't mean that you should not have aspirations or want to do better in life. You should want to do better in life, but at the same time, be happy with what you're having at the moment also. Then you can work towards being happier in life. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Anybody else?
I would like to add one thing more कि we always postpone happiness कि ये मिल जाएगा तो खुश हो जाएंगे, ये हो जाएगा तो खुश हो जाएंगे. तो आज जो है उसको enjoy कर ले, खुश हो ले, तो हम सब खुश रह सकते हैं.
Yes, very nice. Anybody else? Any other issue before I sum up? Any other issue? Chat box में तो किसी ने question नहीं डाला, मैंने देखा नहीं है.
मैं ये पूछ रहा था, could we have another discussion on how to make organizations effective through happiness?
Yes.
And through public policy.
नहीं ये
we have a separate discussion. Could we have
बल्कि मैं अपने summing up में suggest करने वाला था कि let us not leave this topic here. It was so important. Let us take it forward. We can have separate session on how to make organizations more productive and happy. How we can have better public policy to make citizens happy, and also a session on the most important topic with us touched today about children and students. Let us have some session with students to tell them how they can get happiness in their lives and live a happy life. So that should be a way forward.
We can have a series of
discussions and webinars or seminars on this. Yeah.
So I was going to suggest a physical program when the weather improves a little bit. So we can have it next month or sometime.
Yes, why not? Why not? Why not? Okay. Shall I sum up now in 2 minutes? Yeah. Fine. Wonderful discussion we had on various aspects of happiness. All the erudite speakers, they touched on it. We had therapists, we had counselors, we had psychologists, we had doctors. I mean, we had the whole lot, and even professionals in all fields who put forward the views. And I think we got a complete holistic view of what happiness is all about, why we look for happiness, how we can find happiness, how much of happiness is a science, how much of happiness is an art. And ultimately, I think we came to the conclusion that happiness is possible in this life. Possible is something which we must look for and strive for. And a certain set of skills are required, life skills, which will make you happier, which will make you move towards happiness. And if you can do that, you can be more productive, you can be more successful, and you can live a much, much better life. I must congratulate all the speakers. Bhavna Shukla ji came out so well with these stories about happiness, with having a sense of balance, and how students are facing so much of stress these days. And she talked about social contract and physical activity and contentment to make people happy. Dr. Gulneet Chahal talked about it from the point of view of therapist and her experiences. And she says that happiness is a state of mind, yes, but how is that state of mind to be achieved? She has seen in therapy how children are having mental health problems at a very early age. And she also spoke about how physical manifestations can tell you about mental health issues, how the heart rate or the blood count or so on can also be related to your happiness, and how issues of food, sleep, and all these can be integrated into an approach towards happiness. Dr. Kunal Kala was talking about happiness being elusive, and he also distinguished between pleasure and happiness. There are activities which give you pleasure, like having an ice cream, and there are things like which give you achieving something, your goal, after a lot of hard work, which give you a sense of well-being and happiness. And he also talked about how a human brain is wired to be kind of not very happy, unhappy, through the process of evolution, flight and fight response. So we are kind of negative things come more to the mind naturally than the positive. So if you want to bring in more positive things, then you have to make a conscious effort to do that. And Vipassana meditation or other forms of meditation are there, which generate awareness, attention, and resilience for us to reach that. And then, of course, Dr. Madhurima Pradhan, she talked about her happiness lab. And the most important thing she talked about was the Indian approach to this whole subject. She said that so far we have been following the Western positive psychologists, and they have done a lot of good work, no doubt. But they have based it on the studies in Western world. But if we go back to India and Indian culture, Indian ethos, and the Indian paradigm, we can come up with a whole new concept of wellness and human, which is there in our Upanishads, which is there in the Panchmaya Kosh, which she explained so beautifully with that story, and about yoga, meditation, and about positivity in life, and about suffering and how to counter suffering. So all these things came up today in this wonderful discussion. where the very informed questions were also asked. And as Dr. Mathur said, we should certainly carry this forward, because happiness, we can't end with just one webinar. We have to take it forward. We have to take it to the people. We have to take it to the children, the students, the professionals. And if we can make the society happier, we'll certainly have a much more productive and a more successful society, and we'll be able to take India forward. Thank you very much. Thank you all for sparing your time and being here today. I thank all the panelists and all the people who participated in this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaskar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
On behalf of Lucknow Management Association, I think we had a very comprehensive and very well-informed discussion today, from spirituality to basic medicines and all aspects of happiness. And it was indeed very, very enlightening. I think a point that it's not only the state of mind, but your state of health. Physical health is also important. If you are not physically fed, then there's a little chance that you can be happy. It was a very enlightening discussion. I thank all the participants, all the panelists, and particularly Mr. Alok Ranjan, who has started off with a very comprehensive introduction of the theme and his views. He is not only an author, but a very senior, experienced bureaucrat who has been in the public policy space for many decades, culminating as the chief bureaucrat of the state, chief secretary, and with his vast experience and insights and experience, of course, all these years, he has articulated this theme so well. And we are very thankful. And I must congratulate Colonel Mishra, who has put together this team. In fact, I was out of the country for 6-7 weeks, and I couldn't but I was thinking of this subject in the coming months, and he has tied up with Ludhiana Management Association and the excellent speakers which have been brought here from another LMA, not Lucknow, but Ludhiana Management Association. And I'm very thankful to Ludhiana Management Association. We will continue to collaborate in the coming months, and we look forward to hearing from you and any more suggestions. And by any chance, if we can have physical meeting, that would also be welcome. We'll find some speakers who would visit Ludhiana Management Association and vice versa. If you can visit Lucknow, we'll be very happy. And thank you all for participating in this excellent webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Sir, I would like to thank Kang ma'am. When I approached her, she was so forthcoming and willingly accepted this proposal for having this webinar. And but because of help and dedication, we were able to organize this. And I think
it is indeed my
all
pleasure.
the credit goes to Mrs. Kang.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Once again, I will thank all the panelists and the participants for attending this webinar. And as Mr. Alok Ranjan sir had said, we will organize number of sessions on this topic in forthcoming months and all that thing. And on behalf of Lucknow Management Association, we like to thank Ludhiana Management Association for this joint webinar, organizing for this joint webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Colonel Mishra, and we look forward to more collaborative projects. And it was a pleasure listening to all four of you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.